Hello, welcome back. Another week, more chapters of boyfriend material. And if I'm to say anything, after just finishing the last chapters, I am hooked. This story has got me. This story has gripped me. I nearly broke my cardinal rule, and this is not, I would break it like it's not the biggest thing in the world, but I nearly just kept reading. Like, I enjoy doing my 5 chapters a week and savoring it. I feel like I come back to it so much more excited because I know I wanted to continue so much where I left off. But I got through chapter, 15, and then I was like, do I go to chapter, there was a part of me that so strongly was like, do I, but I like coming back and feeling that urge to, and thinking about it all week. But these chapters were so, the setup and this tension between the two, it's fantastic. But we should maybe go back to the start because, well, I assume everyone who watches this has read it. The brain is not braining today, and or is reading along with me, but has read the prescribed chapters because this is a class. We're teaching a class, but as we know, we start off these chapters not as on good terms because we've just found out our dad has cancer and we're trying to get our fake boyfriend back who has fake dumped us. Also, the way that they say fake before everything is so fun. I love it a lot. I enjoy that it's your fake boyfriend, fake relationship, fake text, fake hanging out, fake talking. It's just everything. I can't wait. I know everything's going to go from fake to real eventually, and I can't wait for that. I'm so excited by that. I don't know. There is something to the relatability of Luke for me, and then just how we are, Oliver is just so semi-idolized by him. He's put up on this absolute pedestal, which is just fantastic and makes us as the reader like him so much more. But then the writing is really good. I've been enjoying it. These chapters have been so fun. If this book continues like this for the whole time, I'm going to be absolutely stoked. But for now, I should stop talking and just get into it because I'm excited. Let's get into chapter 11. So we start chapter 11 with, the realization, well, maybe Luke has the slight realization that he fucked up, didn't know what he should have done. He should try and salvage this whole thing with Oliver because, his job's kind of on the line, but also he may have realized he was kind of a fucking dick, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to realize when you do that and you want to apologize, but I think there's this deep down thing that he enjoyed slightly the date. Obviously we know he enjoyed it, but he is kind of figuring that out, that maybe this is something he wants to, someone he does somewhat enjoy talking to, at least has a clear head and may be able to give him perspective on his whole dad situation. But he shows up, Oliver's not having it, but he's like, have you been crying? Fine, come in. And of course his apartment is just delightful. We expected it. And I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait. I hope Oliver gets to visit Luke's apartment. I hope we get a whole chapter of Luke freaking out and cleaning it and just making it presentable enough for Oliver to be in the presence of, because I know some people that they just have they I'm not a dirty person, but some people are so clean and so fancy and have not they don't have knickknacks and they just, it's all nice, minimalist, and you know their place and how they work, and you're like, that is so unlike me. If they ever come over, I have to make everything look like it's a bloody display home because you're scared they're too you put all the perfectness on other people's pedestals. And as we know, I'm a knick-knacky person, circa everything that I have in my room. So I think it's hilarious. It's another thing I can bloody relate to. But we're having a talk. We're trying to kind of get into this, why we texted and we like flaked, and he's like, it's complicated, and he still he's doing the thing, and I completely understand, because when you're not like super comfortable with someone, and when you have that like really hard exterior, you don't want to break down your walls easily with new people, and he doesn't want to say like his dad had cancer, or he's like friends with his mom. He loves his mom. His mom's like, their relationship, but they're like talking about it, and Oliver was like trying to egg him on, and he just blurts out, "My dad's got cancer." Oliver looked at me it's just so, it's not out of pocket, but it's out of like, Oliver, I want a movie. I need to see the faces done for from a person who's casted, because I think that'd be so good. Just some of these moments I can see in the characters I have in my mind, but I want to see it like, so I can't. Hopefully it gets a movie. That would be short series. I don't mind. To be fair, I'm not a person that has... Maybe I'll have stronger opinions at the end of this book, but I don't really care. I think it's just cool that things like that you love get adapted. And if it's done well, I wouldn't care what way. I say that because some adaptations are horrible, and I can only think of the Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, but we're not getting into that today. We're having good vibes. Oliver looked at me the way I'd imagine I'd look at someone who just told me their dad has cancer, but blatantly wouldn't. "I'm so sorry. Of course you had to be with him. Why on earth didn't you say that at the beginning?" "Well, because I didn't know. My mum just told me something important was happening, and I believed her because I always believe her. And I didn't tell you because I thought you'd think it was weird." "Why would I think it's weird? You love your mother." He always knows what to say. "I don't know. I just always worry it makes me sound like Norman Bates." His hand settled warmly on my knee, and while I probably should have, I didn't see any reason to shake it off. "It's very admirable of you, and I appreciate your honesty." Thanks. Thanks. Wow. Oliver being nice to me was way harder to deal with than Oliver being angry at me. "It's alright if I ask about your father? Is there anything I can do?" "Yeah, you cannot ask about my father." He patted my knee in his gently sympathetic way that I could never have managed without without it feeling like a, "Come on, I understand. It's a family matter and I shouldn't intrude." Oliver, the writing is so good, because it's all the small things in it, and it's obviously because it's Luke's perspective. It's Luke's perspective that sets this up. But he's just, I want to like open up his brain. I want to see like what's going on in there. I want to see more of him. I want to learn more about him, because we just get so much of this perspective from following Luke's character. He's just always so calm, and he always knows what to say, and he's empathetic, and he has wit, but he knows when to use it, and he can be a bit like too serious sometimes, but he knows when he has to put like, he's so like smart and very emotionally intelligent, and the way that it's built from Luke's perspective is fantastic. I don't know how you could read this book and not just fall in love with Oliver, because I'm having a rough go of it. I'm loving him so much. I don't know, he's just one of those characters that you immediately are like, wow, there's something about them. And I think this will be a speech I go on every video I do, but I'm just loving it. I'm loving it so much. And then to be in his home and him just make it feel like so inviting and like calming and comforting is also, there's something to be said about that as well. So they start talking a little bit more about his mum, his dad, kind of, Oliver's trying to get in there. He knows, I think, how he can get him to open up, but he's very respectful, and he's like, I'll do this slowly, like, we'll get with what he can say. And they're talking about the whole growing up with it being famous and everyone knowing things about him, and being like, you could Google things if you need to. And he's kind of like, that's not, I don't really care about it. I love it how he's like, I'm fake dating you. I don't actually kind of care about your parents or the famousness of them, but if we're doing this right, I want to know you. And they kind of come with it, but that is not my main focus. I feel like Luke, for really good reason, is very aware of what people know about him, but to the point where I don't think he can, like, fathom the fact that some people don't know things about him or care or would want to look it up. like there is that bit, and I think if you were to date someone like him, there would be that like temptation and want. But there are a lot of people also that just have no interest in like drama or caring or like what tabloids say. And we can easily tell that Oliver is not that person, but he still has that, well, even though they're fake dating, he still has that, like, he's very worried, which rightfully so. But I love how Oliver is slowly trying to like kind of break him out of that thought process that he's like trapped there. He's like, if you look up these things, you'll hate me, you'll think less of me. I don't think badly of you, Lucien, apart from being the sort of self-involved arsehole who'd stand up his date for fun. At this, he went a little pink. I'm sorry. I was upset and said some unfair things, though in my defense, I'm not sure what you expect me to factor in the possibility that your behavior was a result of your having received a cryptic message from your reclusive rock icon mother and having then learned that your estranged father, whose recent return to the limelight you profoundly resent, has a life-threatening illness. Pro tip, apologize or make excuses. Don't do both. You're right. Oliver leaned a little towards me. His breath whispered across my cheek. I'm sorry I hurt you. It would have taken only the slightest of movements to kiss him, and I very nearly did because of this whole conversation was taking me down a rabbit hole of feelings and memories and stuff I had trouble sharing with my actual friends. But he'd made it pretty clear he wasn't up for that. So instead I had to say, I'm sorry I hurt you too. Just it's the little things that I really like. It's just he moved in closely, like you could feel the way they describe tension in this book is written fantastically. I love all those little moments, and we get them, and obviously they're a really effective tool at setting up, like, I know why it's there, but I can never not figure out how fantastic I think it is. And I've circled a bunch of them going through these chapters. It's just, he leaned in closely, like his breath whispering across my cheek, and just, it's so small, but like tender and powerful. And I love the way they just like put through it's great. It just feels very intimate. And cause we've really just got these two, like we have all our other characters and our plot set up, but these chapters are really focusing on them, and I love it. And just we have all this wit, which is the real funny parts of it, and we have this back and forth, and mostly Luke just talking shit and this awkwardness, but then you have these quick like hot flashes of just like love and passion and possibility. And I think that's what sets it up. The possibility is the most fantastic thing to like see coming up. So they decide, since Luke's not the complete massive arsehole that he thinks he is, that maybe since they were going to do brunch anyway, they might as well eat the food that they bought and have a cute little semi-dinner date. Well, he gave me an uncertain smile. You're here now and everything's still in the fridge. It's nearly 6. That's not brunch, it's Brinner. Does it matter? Wow, you rebel you. Oh yes, that's me, sticking 2 fingers up at society and its normative concepts of mealtimes. I love a breakfast for dinner. So, I tried to sound casual, but I was about as in touch on something very serious indeed. This brunch, Brinner, punk rock rejection of the egg-based status quo. Will there be French toast? I love French toast. Oliver flicked up a brow. There could be. If you're very good. I can be good. What sort of good did you have in mind? I mean, that is... Maybe you can set the table? I hid a smile behind my hand, because I didn't want him to think I was mocking him, even if I kind of was. But I guess this was exactly what I'd signed up for. A man who probably owned napkin rings. After all, the mail was unlikely to run with Rockstar's love child in wrong fork shame. What I hadn't expected, though, was how nice, how safe, how right it would feel. It's those that just, it's fantastic. The banter, like, we could be good, like, I can be good for you, but then we get Oliver's awkwardness. He's like, I don't think he ever assumes that someone will come back at him. Maybe in his previous dating life, which we get into a bit, and Not a lot, but little snippets, and it's kind of sad. But maybe he hasn't had someone who is like witty and like quick with it and snaps back, because every time he goes for a bit, I think he has that inside of him. He just, because he's very professional and businessy, he doesn't like show it off as much. So like he'll do a bit like, if you're good, like thinking it'll just peter out, and then he's like, I can be good. And then he just freaks out. I think that's so cute. But also, just the way, you know, Luke talks about all this like uncertainty and like shakenness and not trusting, and all these things that we've set up really heavily in all the chapters like before this. We're just like, oh God, like, you know, we don't want anything bad to happen. Like everything's so like turbulent. We like empathize with him, and for him to say how nice, how safe, how right it would feel just like being with him, you're just like, wow, they have to be husbands. Like you love it so much, because you're like, we can feel calm in this presence, and it's just that beautiful thing of, that's what everyone deserves to feel in a relationship. And for a character that like I obviously relate to but really enjoy so far, just to see that is really exciting. And to hear him actually say it, and for like, usually he might go, how safe, but I wouldn't admit it, or safe, but it's not that. Him just saying it blankly and not also putting in a denier there is absolutely fantastic. So we get into, you know, he makes breakfast, he makes this beautiful just the fact, and he utters this little line of, oh, he was excited, he hasn't had someone to cook for in so long, and he just makes this beautiful big spread that it was kind of like too much for the two of them. But I think that is the cutest thing, that to have someone that shows that they will put effort into things like that is really nice, and to be excited by it. It's not that they would make there's I think a difference between like, you're on a date, fake date, and you put in effort to like look good, and you're like, I made this big spread, like look at me, like I look good, I think this is gonna look good for the date. But then there's something so different between that and then like, I made this big spread for the date and I'm so excited to be able to make it for someone. Like, I enjoyed doing that, and to be now able to share it with someone. There's a big difference. And I don't think the first one's like bad in any way, to do something extravagant and, you know, be a bit like show offy. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, but there is something so beautiful about enjoying what you're doing to share. You know, it shows nearly a certain level of maturity, I think, and just like passion. There's something different about it, and maybe it's just because it's Oliver, but I don't care, because I think it's great. But we're talking about different things. We're talking about how we're dating, past dating, like there's a lot of different bits and bobs in there, but we go back to the talking about looking at the tabloids, looking at different things, and we're kind of reiterating these different things, and Oliver's on the steady train of, I do not give a shit, please believe me. Like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how to convince you, but these are things that I don't care about, I don't want to look at. And I think in Oliver's mind, he's also kind of like, we're fake dating, so it doesn't really matter that much to me. Also, I know how to take negative criticism and people not to be like me. I think he can compartmentalize it better, or just recognizes it more, or didn't have that stressful upbringing as well. But Luke's just like, maybe there's a part of him that is more in this fake dating than he would like to admit. Well, obviously, but then Oliver is as well, because he's like, we're fake dating, but also I don't want you to look up these things because I don't want you to leave my life currently. But we go on. Anyway, Oliver went on, you didn't let me finish, and I'm usually so considerate in that regard. Up went that brow of his. Good to know. And for some reason, I blushed. He gave a little cough. As I was saying, I recognize that the public commentary is significant to you and has affected your life, but is nonsense to me and always will be compared to you. Okay, I made an odd hoarse noise. You were right. Go back to being snarky. I really don't think I'll look, Lucian. I have no wish to hurt you. I get I have bad taste in men, but I've managed to mostly avoid dating guys who actively went to screw me over. It's not about wanting or not wanting to hurt me, but I tried to sound jaded and resigned, rather than horribly, horribly exposed. You know how it is. People get curious, or they get frustrated, or they do that thing where they think they're going to read it, then impress me with how totally okay they are with it, but they just get freaked out and I just feel fucked up. I couldn't imagine that life. I think it's so tough and it's hard for him, and obviously there are going to be so many steps to be able to move over that, but I think if anyone has the chops to be able to do it, like if anyone's going to be able to maneuver through this, it's definitely going to be Oliver, because he can do it with grace and decorum, and he'll do it in the best way possible. So basically, Oliver just reassures him that if he can't believe him, at least believe that he is so fancy and pompous that he will never read a tabloid, so he doesn't have to worry slightly of the fact that he will read anything about him, which I love, and that it's the right way to go about it, where Luke's like, actually, yes, that makes complete sense. I won't actually worry about it. Though, do I think it will happen? Possibly. I think it'll be very interesting to see, and I want to see what all these articles has been said, and Oliver has talked about how that's never always the truth or 100% of the truth or what's actually happening, but I do want to know what has been said. I am nosy, so I want to know, but also I'm not in this situation, so I don't have to I don't have to come at it with grace and decorum either. So they keep talking, they talk about, hobby, the different things. We're doing the small talk, getting to know each other, which I think is really fun, especially for fake dating, because it's like learning the fact sheets from Red, White, Royal Blue. It's just getting all that information so they could repeat it and going going into different situations and be like, oh yes, someone asked about this. I have the information to do that whole boyfriend partner thing that people do when they actually know each other. They're studying in a way, but also they're doing it in a way that is so natural and kind of fun and with the banter, so they'll actually enjoy knowing this knowledge about each other. Dear me, we've been dating for less than 3 days and you're already trying to change me. Why would I want to change you when it's so much fun taking the piss out of you? His brow wrinkled. Thank you, I think. I can't tell if that was a compliment. It was probably just because I'm a bad person that I was finding him slightly endearing now. Yeah, that's kind of the game, but come on, you must do something that doesn't involve wigs and hammers. I cook, I read, I spend time with friends. I try and stay healthy. Oh yay, so I hadn't been imagining the body under those conservative suits. I mean, not that I was imagining it, at least not very much. His gaze caught mine. What about you? Me, the usual. Stay out too late, drink too much, cause the people who care about me needless anxiety. What do you actually do? I really wanted to look away, but for some reason I couldn't. His eyes kept promising me things that I was sure I didn't want. I've been in a bit of a slump. For a while, I still do stuff. I was out last Saturday, but I never seem to have anything to show for it. I just love that he's wow, this person cares, and there's something beautiful about that. He's he's promising me things listening, and I think from what I am gathering, the promises in a way listening, understanding, talking, remembering, adding to the conversation, adding to his life, being able to help, being able to talk, and if not being able to help, just listen, understand, let him talk through. And it's so much fun hearing this, but also looking at his eyes and getting caught in them. It's just those little things, and getting you're fun to take the piss out of, and he kind of enjoys that. They're starting to develop at least friendshipiness, even though they have these moments of beautiful ooh, I can see a relationship forming. They are having this good friend banter, which is really good because they're building up that friendship really quickly. And while they won't admit it, their friendship is kind of getting solid, and I love that they don't. I wouldn't say they would think that, but from an outside perspective, you're you guys are bullying each other like you've known each other for absolute years, and I think that's fantastic. So basically, they finish their, their meal, they're eating, they're like taking it over, going to like wash up. They've been talking about Oliver's work, which, like Luke, I understood semi bits of, semi not bits of. I ain't the brightest like Luke, that's why I relate to him. I was like listening and I was like, I was reading. I was like, very interesting, very interesting. Lots of legal stuff, fun. I enjoy it, but also I have no idea what's going on. And if we're going to talk about the legal stuff, we're not going to, because I can't follow it. But I liked just hearing Oliver talk and get to talk, and just watching Luke kind of go through and talk about it and try and add his 2 cents. But when he was adding it, it was mostly just jokes and stuff. But he goes on at the end of chapter 12. I just have this little bit here. Do you mean sterling public servants from the Crown Prosecution Service? Damn it, Oliver. His name tasted bright and sharp on my tongue. Sugar and cinnamon. You're kind of sucking the fun out of the criminal justice system. Very deliberately, he picked up another blueberry and launched it at me. It pinged off my eyebrow. What was that for? I asked, with what I hoped came across as strange petulance. His mouth was curled into a smile, as slow and warm as maple syrup. You deserve it. Oh, just that line, his mouth was curling into a smile, as slow and warm as maple syrup. Like, to describe it like that is just so absolutely fantastic. And I love a character. I am always a sucker for that character that has the hard exterior. Like, Luke has it, but Oliver doesn't, like, show it. Whereas Luke's very hardened by, like, he has a hardened exterior and he doesn't let people in. But he's very quick with emotions and wit. So there are a lot of things coming out. Happiness, anger, sadness. He doesn't hide them away. He just hides his, like, core feelings. Whereas Oliver kind of lets things out slowly, but hides some of those, like, emotions, especially, like, happiness. He tries to, I think, keep this very stern and serious, like, air about him. So having these small moments, and they focus on it very purposely, of when he smiles or like starts to smile, is fantastic, and it just makes you happy. Like, I don't know if I would say it's for an everyone thing, but watching, like, hearing about him smiling is just so much fun, because they make a point that it doesn't happen often. So to see him just go from, like, stern expression to actually smiling, to meaning he maybe is enjoying Luke's company and therefore, like, our company because we're along from the ride, is just so endearing and fun to see. And it's the bit in these, like, romance books, relationship books, that is just so good. And it fills my heart. It fills my heart, and I'm gushing, and I will for the rest of every book we probably do if it stays on romance, but I ain't apologizing, because oh my god, I love them so much. So they kind of finishing up the dishes, still talking. They're trying to figure out how this fake relationship's going to work. We're trying to figure out the details, the nitty-gritty of it. What are the rules? What we should know? Who we're telling? And Luke's kind of like, well, Bridge, we kind of have to tell because she kind of already knows. And then he's like, well, Alex, we kind of have to tell, / he already knows. And then Oliver's like, okay, so that's 2 people. And then he's like, well, my mum, I can't lie to my mum. And he's like, yes, that's fine. And then he's like, well, all my friends will probably guess because I used to hate you and now, we're in a relationship, so it might be strange. And Oliver's like, okay, so basically everyone in your life knows. And he's like, well, kind of, but that it's just like, he's like, oh, I'm constantly in this relationship and over it. I think it's funny. But they say this small part here which just like, in case you've forgotten, there are 2 of us in this fake relationship, and it won't be a very successful fake relationship without real work. Jesus, Oliver, in my frustration, I might as well actually be dating you. Bit ahead, as we've agreed, that is an outcome neither of us want. No, you guys are kind of enjoying it. Like, I can see that they're not there yet, obviously, but just the way that they're setting up, where I'm like, I want it, and I know you guys could like do it. I just can't wait to see. And I know what's gonna happen. Like, I know they're gonna get together, but I can't wait to the moment where it switches. I can't wait to it, because these moments where they're like, we don't want it, and like the small smiles and the tension shared, it is such good build up. It is fantastic, and I can't wait to see when we switch from fake to real. And I don't know if it's going to be a mistake first and then they go back to being kind of awkward and then go into it, or they go fully into it at once, or one of them is going to realize first. Like, there's obviously a lot of different ways we can go about it, but I can't wait. Like, seeing these bits, thinking of where it's going to go is fantastic. And I will look back at these videos when I like get there, I'll be like, oh, you will enjoy what's coming. So we're still at Oliver's apartment. We've had our beautiful, food, and Oliver's like, well, you're still welcome to like stick around. I'm gonna be just doing some work, but like, if you'd like to, like, feel free. Because he's a nice, polite person. And is that the bare minimum? Yes. But does it seem like really beautiful when you like write it down? Yes. The way that like real people can make normalcy in books seem so beautiful. Like, sometimes like, people in real life, or in like when you hear about other people's relationships, you're like, oh god, there's no like beautiful just general politeness, or you hear like horror stories of like friends dating, and then when it's written down in this romance book, you're welcome to stay like as long as you want, I'm just going to be doing some work, and you're like, oh my god, he's the best, how does he do this? And you're just like, wow, maybe there's something wrong with the world and me, and that isn't actually that crazy. But they're just like, well, you could stay over, and we're like, yes, I want to see where this is going. But Luke just mentions, and anything was horrible, better than going back to an empty, barely habitable flat and thinking about the father that I hated / was indifferent to might be dead soon. And please, make yourself at home. You can read or watch television, or... Actually, I'm sorry. This was just an awful invitation. I shrugged. It's probably what I'd be doing anyway, just in a nicer house with more clothes on. Keeping your clothes on is probably for the best. Don't worry, I know the drill. No kissing, no dick pics, no nudity. Yes, well, his hands moved absently. I think any of those would unnecessarily complicate the fake boyfriend situation. And I'm never unnecessary or complicated. There was an uncomfortable pause. So, he finally asked, are you staying? And God knows why, I nodded. Because he kind of wants to. He enjoys his company. At least I think it's good that he doesn't want to be alone. Like, he has had something like very serious like dropped on him, and to have someone that is just kind of not talking about it all the time, like we've been over that, but just to have company and someone around is fantastic. Even if he's just going to be doing his work and not doing anything, I think it's just, it's good. Also, I know the drill, no kissing, no dick pics, no nudity is fantastic, because a couple of you in the comments, again, thank you very much for your comments. I enjoy them so much. Also, I don't think anyone actually, like, cares as much as I when you, like, overthink something, you're like, well, everyone's thinking about it, and probably no one ever thinks. I try my best to, like, reply to every comment. I just take forever. That is not a sign of anything. I'm just an awful replier. It is how I am in real life. Everyone that knows me hates me because I seldom do I reply / I take forever. It's a problem. I know. I admit it. I just have text back anxiety. So don't... if you're ever like, it's taking a while, it's just because I've got issues and don't do it quickly. And that's that. I don't... I like people to be aware of it, and everyone knows in real life that I am awful at it, so they just understand it. But it's just to put it out there. But where I was going with this, some people left in the comments, they're talking about how the dick pics will come back. They said no spoilers, but dick pics is a fun motif going through this book. And I fucking can't wait, because I think it's so funny. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. But because I think that's just going to be like the funniest bit ever. We're at Oliver's apartment. We're just chilling on the couch. We're having a fun time, but we decide to turn on the TV. We pick a show and we're like, oh, sure, we'll watch this one. It's the new show with our dad, with John Flemings, which I think is, I like the way, Fleming, that they give full name every time. It adds this like air of like unfamiliar, why can't I say unfamiliarity? Yeah, sure. You know what I mean. I like having his full name is like, you know, you use someone's full name when you don't know them, or it's just like kind of on a list. It's very unpersonable unless it's like an inside joke. But having him as John Fleming all the time is so much of like a small but useful detail, instead of saying, oh, dad, because he's not a dad to him, obviously. And it's really useful for me who can't like relate to that sort of thing as much, but it just like really repeats that kind of thought in my head. I'm like, oh yes, like that makes sense. Like they're not, it's an interesting to be able to like convey that so well just by doing the full name, but I really like how it's done because it just reminds me and really instills it in my head of their situation. But we're watching his TV show. Basically, it's The Voice. Like, I assume anyone who's watching knows The Voice, but it's basically The Voice. The Voice is a thing in a lot of places, right? It's one of the, it's like Got Talent and all those. Every country has, like, a lot of people have one. Basically, it's The Voice with extra steps. So it's not the most unique program on the world, but obviously I don't think the person that wrote this could have used The Voice as a thing, so they made up their own. And I think it's fun. I think it's good. But it's kind of this thing of, oh shit, like, we're talking about the Voice, and we're watching Dad on TV and we're seeing him, but he's also a stranger, and people are talking about how good they are and everyone's talking to each other, and you're like, shit, I don't know this person, like, but I know it's just this crazy thing that I can't fathom, and I like hearing more about it because it's so interesting to me to just see this person who you know of, but is a stranger, but is also your father. That is just crazy to me. But I like that Oliver is here and we see him throughout watching the program. He's paying attention. Like, he's one of those people who can do their work, but also like simultaneously pay attention to someone, which I envy because I can't have any distractions when doing anything because I am so easily distracted. Literally, I have everything. When I record, I'm like, everything's on Do Not Disturb. I can't be, or like when I'm editing, I'm like, I can't be distracted or I'll stop doing it. But he like makes some comments, so he's kind of watching too. But I think there is a part of Oliver that is watching and paying attention because he knows his dad's on the TV and he wants to check. That's just a me thing. I think that's why he'd be doing. But he's too like beautiful, cute, and polite to not do that in a way. So as any reality TV show happens, we have all the different contestant archetypes and we go over them, and Luke's talking about how each like different one, like when they'll go out, and it's really, in a way it's true. If you've seen any of those like singing shows, you know all the different, you know, you got the parents, like people with like bad backstories, the quirky ones, the crazy ones, the really talented ones, the hot ones, and he's saying who's going to go out when. And I think it's very funny because it's such a thing with like reality TV show, especially the singing ones. You kind of get a vibe of what everyone's about, who they are, how they're structured into the show. It's kind of like their role in a video game. You're like, everyone is placed in a certain role and that's how we'll go forward. But there's like one kid who does a really like beautiful song, and his dad, you know, wants to have him on his team because it's, you know, The Voice, and he's, you know, trying to talk to this kid who I'm pretty sure was like 17ish maybe. He's like, tell us about like why you sang that song. My dad, Leo managed, he died last year and we never really agreed about a lot of stuff, but music was like a thing that really brought us together. Okay, I read that sentence and I laughed. Not at all because his dad died. That is horrible and sad. But it's like, oh my God. I was like I literally gave out a laugh because I was like, how the hell do we have Luke watching this about a kid whose dad died, who they didn't agree on, but music was something that like was in their lives, but also he's watching his dad who might die and they don't agree on. And I was just like, what are the fucking coincidences that this is a thing that he is watching? I was just like, it's crazy and it's like dumb, but it's plot and it's funny, but it's also really good, and I love the way they're doing it. It's one of those things that it's like convenient and dumb, but is also really good, and I like the way it's done. It's because I think things can be like good and bad at the same time. I'm like, what, you know, very on the nose, but also I like it because it is stirring the pot. I like bringing those emotions forth for Luke. That's actually really interesting to his character. It's just one of those things. I think we can agree that things can be kind of dumb, like plot-wise, and be too convenient, but also really good at the same time. And I really like that about this. There was a perfect televisual pause. John Fleming leaned forward. That was a beautiful performance. I could tell how much the song meant to you, and how much of your heart you put into it. I'm sure your dad would have been proud of you. What the fuck? Okay, I felt very sorry for Leo from Billaracy? Sorry, you know, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get all the towns wrong. I can do my Australian towns, but which some of them, you know, every place has their own towns that maybe are hard to say. I can do my ones, I cannot do, so we're just gonna say Leo from the place he's from. Because he was clearly bereaved, and having a shit relationship with an absent father sucked. But it didn't change the fact that my absent father was having a redemptive bonding experience with some prick from Essex on national TV while I watched from the sofa of my fake boyfriend's house. Yikes. Oliver glanced over. Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be? No reason. But, hypothetically, if you stopped being fine and wanted to, I don't know, talk about anything, I'm right here. Oh, I love you, Oliver. I love you so much. On the screen, Leo from the place he's from was biting his lip in that trying not to cry way that made him look brave and noble and fan favourite-y, and John Fleming was explaining how much he wanted him on his team. Not a lot of people know this about me, he said, but I never knew my own father. He died on the Western Front before I was born, and I always regretted not having that connection in my life. No, not a lot of people did know that. I didn't know that. Essentially making Leo from where he comes from, and for that matter, Simon from the Blue, and how many the fuck million people watched this show live, closer to my dad than I was. It was getting increasingly hard not to be actively glad that motherfucker had cancer. Anyway, of course, Leo, from where he comes from, picked John Fleming to be his mentor. I came this close to cutting my losses and turning the show off, but that would have felt weirdly like letting my dad win, and I'm not sure what it felt like letting him win, but I knew I wanted to stop him winning. So instead, I stared blankly at the screen while a carousel of hopefuls continued. I was pretty sure I was getting a headache. What with Oliver and John Fleming and Leo from where he comes from, and my job hanging by a thread, there was a little too much for my brain, and the more I tried to deal with any of it, the more it just swirled around like clay in the hands of an inexperienced potter. So I shut my eyes for a moment, telling myself it would make more sense when I opened them. So we're going to our last chapter of this week, and I love the when you're, you know, not feeling well and you shut your eyes and you're like, you know, I'm just going to shut my eyes for a second. You're going to sleep. You're going to sleep. We know this. You've got to be honest with yourself. The difference between Luke and me, I think I'm more honest with myself. I'm like, nah, I'm just falling asleep. There is multiple times where I'm just like, will I try and continue watching this? No, I'm going to sleep. I'm checking the fuck out. I am closing my eyes and plan to not wake up for at least a couple of hours. I glance around the living room to reveal that Oliver had finished his work, probably some time ago, and packed everything neatly away from around me. I can't believe I turned up to your doorstep out of nowhere, insisted you continued to pretend to date me, whined about my dad's cancer, got in a massive argument about logistics, made you watch reality TV, then fell asleep. You also threw a blueberry at me. You should dump me. I already tried that. Didn't take. Seriously, if you want out, I'll be reasonable this time. Oliver held my glance for a long moment. I don't want out. Relief bubbled through me like indigestion. What the fuck is wrong with you? I thought we've established that fairly clearly. I'm stuffy, pompous, boring, and desperate. Nobody else will have me. But you make amazing French toast. Yes, his expression grew charmingly rueful. I'm starting to think that's the only reason my relationships lasted as long as they did. For some reason, I was suddenly very aware I wasn't allowed to kiss him. Ooh. First of all, fucking feel sad for Oliver because I'm like, wow, people were just in it for that must be some good fucking French toast. I would like to know what it tastes like, but just like he's like, people, may have just stuck around for me for the things I can do and provide for them, but not for me, which is just so sad and hard. And then I was suddenly very aware I wasn't allowed to kiss him because that means that's your way of saying you wanted to kiss him. And that is just, it's setting up these moments that I just absolutely love so much. But he's like, shit, I should probably leave. Like, do I have time to catch the tube? And then he's like, maybe not. I could call you a cab, Oliver would suggest. And he's like, nah, I'll just catch an Uber. And he's like, I don't very much like Uber. I have strong opinions on how Uber is bad. And Luke's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you have opinions about everything. And there's I straddle the line between those two so much. I'm the person that's like, some opinions I'm like, yes, I get it, but sometimes, you have to. And then sometimes I'm the person that's like, that's actually not very good. We probably shouldn't do that. Or like, that might be ethically a gray area. So I get both sides here. So obviously Luke's getting kind of annoyed. He's like, are you serious? I need to catch basically at this time, I have to catch an Uber. And he's like, let me try and explain this. Okay, I drew in a calming breath. Let me try to explain. Most of the people who aren't you understand that capitalism is exploitative and that climate change is a problem and that choices we make can support things that are bad or unjust. But we survive by a precarious strategy of not thinking about it. And reminding us of that makes us sad, and we don't like to be sad. So, we get angry. Oh, he looks crestfallen. I can see that been terribly unappealing. It's also kind of admirable, I admitted reluctantly, in a really infuriating way. I don't mean to cherry pick, but did you just call me admirable? You must have imagined it, and now, ironically, I have to get an Uber because I can't make the train and I've got no cash for a cab. He cleared his throat. You could stay the night if you wanted. Wow, you are seriously committed to me not supporting the Uber's business model. No, I just thought it might. That is, a self-conscious little shrug. For the sake of verisimilitude? Okay, that was perfect and that was amazing. Verisimilitude is a word I was meant to... I'm sorry, I did this. I think I did this in the last one too. I was meant to look it up before I started recording because it comes up and it's like an inside joke and I really like it. It's kind of like, that long word that you say and it's kind of dumb, but now it's like a thing that they take on. And I've read it heaps because it comes up and I keep going, I'll Google that. I'll Google it to make sure I know how to pronounce it and actually what it means. And then I finish the chapter on my cozy little couch and I go, ooh, I'm giddy with... I'm loving this and I want to talk about it. So I go straight into the recording, start reading, get to the bit and go, shit. And yes, I could just Google it and make a cut, but I think it is more like, I'm going to be honest. If anything, like Luke, maybe I'm honest to a fault. Me cutting to actually Googling it. No, I'm not going to. I will Google it eventually, I hope. Probably not, but I love it. I get it as an inside joke. Anywho, I like it how he's like, I'm admirable, but also, do you want to stay the night? Oh, I think it's just, and I get there's nothing there. I get that there's not going to be anything there, but I think it's so cute and just, again, it's just something that is polite and lovely. And it would be no inconvenience, he added awkwardly. I have a spare toothbrush and can sleep on the sofa. I can't make you sleep on the sofa in your own house. I can't make you sleep on the sofa when you're a guest. There was a long silence. Well, I pointed out, neither of us can sleep on the sofa. Then either I can go home or... Oliver faffed with the sleeve of his jumper. I think we're mature enough to share a bed without incident. Look, I know what happened outside the restaurant was a bit much, but I usually wait for an invitation before I jump on someone. I'm an incident-free zone, I promise. Then it's getting late. I suggest we head upstairs. And, just like that, I'd apparently agreed to spend the night with Oliver. Well, not with Oliver, more sort of in Oliver's general vicinity. Except, right then, no matter how hard I tried to convince myself otherwise, there didn't feel like there was much of a difference. Because there's something to say about, sleeping with someone versus sleeping with someone. Because both of them, somewhat into... Obviously, you can definitely, fall asleep with someone in the same bed and it'd be completely not intimate. Just in this actual, with two people who kind of have this good banter and are being fake boyfriends and both do kind of are enjoying each other and like each other and feeling somewhat of a comfort in each other. There is something very intimate about just sleeping in the same bed. I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I think it's not anything weird. It's kind of cute and it's a bubbly, happy thing. It's not it's intimate. It's intimate, and I think it's really fun. Fucking Oliver's got bloody full pajama suit. Of course he does. His room's immaculate. His bed's made. Why am I Luke so much? Oliver is just the perfect man, but also so opposite to me. Luke was yeah, you just throw the doona kind of back where it was when you hopped in. And I'm yes, I agree. Oh my god, he's wow, everything's so clean and tidy. I swear I'm not gross. I'm clean. I'm as clean as, I would say, a bit more than the next person, but not as a beautiful, well-kept person. I am very clean enough, I swear. But I really liked this bit here. You're wearing pajamas wrong, right? He didn't look up. Oh? Yeah, you're supposed to just wear the bottoms and have them hanging lower on your hips, displaying your perfectly chiseled V-cut. Maybe next time. I thought about this for a moment. Are you saying you have a perfectly chiseled V-cut? I'm not sure that's any of your business. What if someone asked? I should know, for verisimilitude. The corners of his mouth twinged slightly. You can say I'm a gentleman and we haven't gotten that far. I gave a thwarted sigh. You're a terrible fake boyfriend. I'm building fake anticipation. You better be fake worth it. I am. I hadn't quite been expecting that and didn't quite know how to reply, so I just sat there, trying not to think too hard about what Oliver's idea of worth it might be. Ooh, it's the perfect 10. And for once, I feel like Oliver's getting a bit more comfortable with that back and forth, and now Luke's been put on that back step with he's been the one leading all the banter and doing the wit, so he's now on the opposite. I just think it's really good when he's a bit shocked and Oliver has that chance to show off his wit and his quickness. I think it's I love it when a character's kind of switch their archetypes in place. I think it's really good. Okay, I know I said on the last one that we're already the last chapter, but we were not actually in the slightest because I can't count, but I have to read these last 2 pages of chapter 14 because they are perfect. I'm really enjoying it, and I know I'm gonna say feel bad. I feel bad and no one cares, but I feel bad because there are more chapters. I go longer, so these videos are a bit longer, I feel than usual on average, but you'll have to forgive me because I'm really enjoying this book. He flicked the light off abruptly, and I tried to settle myself down without impinging on his personal space or sense of property. His bed was firmer than mine, but it was also nicer and probably way cleaner. I could just about catch the scent of him from the sheets, fresh and warm, like if bread was a person, and I could just feel the shape of him beside me, comforting and distracting at the same time. Damn him. Minutes or hours crept by. Determined to be a good sleeping partner, I was assailed by a thousand itches, niggles, and terrible fear of farting. Oliver's breath was steady enough that I became hyper-aware of my own, which was on the edge of going full Darth Vader, and then my brain started thinking stuff and wouldn't stop. Oliver, I said, my dad's got cancer. I was fully prepared for him to tell me to shut up and go to sleep or kick me out entirely, but instead he rolled over. I imagine that's going to take some time getting used to. I don't want to get used to it. I don't want to know him at all. And if I do have to know him, it's deeply unfair. I have to know him as a bloke with cancer. I snuffled in the darkness. He opted out of being my father. Why does he expect me to opt in just for the shit bit? He's probably scared. He was never there when I was scared. No, he was clearly a bad father. You can punish him for it if you want to. But do you honestly think that will help? Help who? Anyone, but I'm thinking mainly of you. Under the plausible deniability of the bedcloths, his fingertips brushed mine. It must have been hard to go through life after he abandoned you, and I'm not sure it'll be easier to go through life after you've abandoned him. I was silent for a long time. Do you really think I should see him? It's your decision, and I support you either way, but yes, I think you should. I made a plaintive noise. After all, he went on, if it goes badly, you can walk away at any time. It's going to be all hard and messy. Lots of things are. Many of them are still worth doing. It was a sign of quite how fucked up I was feeling that I didn't try and make a joke out of hard, messy, or, indeed, worth doing. Will you, I asked, come with me if I go? Of course. You know, for verisimilitude, he finished. He still hadn't moved his hand. I didn't ask him to. What the fuck? Like, that's just like the perfect thing Luke needs to hear. That, you know, maybe you should hear it out. You can walk away at any time. Yes, he agrees that his father was a bad father and doesn't, you know, you don't owe him anything, but maybe it could be good for you. But again, you can leave. Like, it's that thing of you could see it out and decide to stop at any time. But also he supports like your decisions and he will come with you and be there for you if you need it. Why is Oliver Blackwood the most perfect fucking person on the earth? I do not know, but it is killing me and I am slowly falling in love with him. But we go into chapter 15 and I feel like chapter 15 is a bit of a quicker one. You know, we're just making jokes with Alex as usual. He was doing not bad on this one, but he didn't fully get it as usual. But we're talking about, you know, our boyfriend situation. We're seeing what's going, but it hasn't done what he wants yet. He's had a fake boyfriend for like 4 days, but the investors aren't coming back and he's surprised by that. And I was like, well, it would take more time. But Alex is actually fairly good at this because he always has like a solution for things. He's like, well, you know, I'll just read it because it's horrible for me to just say it and then read the exact same thing. Actually, I was going to suggest you come with me to the club. Miffy's always got men following her with cameras. And I mean, he wrinkles her nose. I think they're mostly journalists, although there was this awkward business with the kidnapping last February. Sorry? Did your girlfriend get kidnapped? Silly business. They thought her father was the Duke of Argyll, when he's actually the Earl of Beckerdam. Oh, I hate names of places. How we laughed. I decided to let it go. So you're telling me that if I hang out with you, I'll either get my picture in a better quality magazines, or I'll be abducted by international criminals. Which will also get you in the papers. So I think that's what the kids today are calling a win-win, which is interesting. So Alex really just comes from this like high society, like, you know, they go to the club, you know, Dukes, Counts, I don't know, the upper class. It's very interesting and I like hearing about it because it's so like, whoa, what's going on? But it's very fun. I wonder if Alex knows the royal family and Prince Henry, because, oh my god, the crossover, could you imagine? Could you imagine? But I won't go down that rabbit hole. So we've decided that we'll go to the club, we'll, you know, talk to Oliver. We're texting him actually kind of a lot. We kind of know his schedule now. When he calls us is really cute. He gives us a call because he's having a bad day and he like talks about it. I'm just like, they are doing this fake boyfriend thing, very real boyfriend thing, because it's really sweet. The way that I feel like they both have that harder exterior sort of personality. And since they've both let each other in for this kind of experiment. They're both now relying on each other as that person to be able to tell things to and maybe talk to that they wouldn't their actual friends, which is really, I don't know, there's something very sweet about it. Also, I wonder if we're going to meet any of Oliver's friends, because I think that'll be interesting. But I liked this bit here. I'm glad I could amuse you at least. It means I've done somebody some good today. Oh, come on, it wasn't your fault. You defended the guy as well as you could. Yes, but if one must lose, one prefers to lose honorably rather than ignominiously. You know, I was going to be sympathetic right until you started referring to yourself as one. He gave a little chuckle. One is sorry. One fucking better be. One isn't the fucking queen. Will you come for a drink with me after work? He said. It wasn't exactly a blurt, but it had definitely been had definite blurty qualities. That is, I think we should be seen together more often, for the sake of the project. The project? This isn't an episode of Doctor Who, but if you're keen to preserve the integrity of Operation Cantaloupe, we've been invited to an expensive private members club from the biggest nitwit in the home countries. Does this sort of thing happen often for your line of work? Not so much, I admitted. My get a respectable boyfriend plan isn't doing what it's supposed to, because none of our donors have noticed. And my very lovely, very posh, but very, very silly co-worker has suggested we go out with him and his partner in order to generate a little bit of society buzz. Oh my, I love the fact that they're gonna have to like be spotted and act like a cute couple. And I feel like it could go really wrong or really right. And I can't wait to see like how it is going to like end. But Luke keeps going about his like days, at work, and he's trying to get in contact with his dad. He wants to do it slowly, so he doesn't go for the best way, which is ringing his mum. He's just like, maybe I'll ring his talent manager, and he rings them and he's like, I need to talk to John. And they're like, well, actually, no, because he's a famous person and you're random. He's like, no, like, I need to talk to him. And he's like, no, you don't. And he's like, I'm his son. And he's like, I've heard that before. And I was like, how many people, like, I get it. Celebrities, this is probably a normal thing, but I was like, how many people are really pretending to be his son? But he was like, well, I actually need to talk to him. I'm his son. Tell him I called. It's about the cancer thing. Hangs up. And I was like, ooh, that was a fun, like, obviously he's going to be like, well, no one knows that. So actually this might be kind of serious. So I will actually have to tell him. And then the last page of this chapter and the last page I will get into, because the last page, I think there's something, there's always the last page, always has the good bit to make you excited about the next bit. So it's always going to be the best bit, the bit I'm going to want to read the most. It was gradually sinking in that if Dad did kick the bucket, my last and pretty much only words to him would have been, fuck off and literally die. And I resented how shitty that made me feel about myself, because while a lot of people had an absolute right to make me feel shitty on account of the many years I've spent systematically letting them down, John Fleming was just some prick I'd never met. This was the problem with, well, I was going to say the world, or relationships, or humanity in general, but I guess it really meant me, because when I let someone into my life, it went one of either two ways. Either they carried on putting up with me, even though I'm clearly not worth putting up with, or else they'd piss all over me and walk it out, occasionally popping back to piss on me some more. Around this point, I remembered I had, for the moment, still got a job, and that job involved me doing more than sitting in my office, making personal calls, and wallowing in self-pity. I checked my email. Dear Mr. O'Donnell, I have been a supporter of crap for many years and have always believed that my insignificant contributions were being well directed towards a worthwhile cause. Having seen your recent personal conduct, I made my own independent researches into your frankly sordid history. I am forced to conclude that this belief was misguided. I do not give money to charities in order that they pay people to gallivant off on homosexual drug binges. I'm withholding all donations to your organization as long as it remains associated with you or your lifestyle. Sincerely, some person. And I'm just like, are you kidding? I want to keep reading because I want to know, like, oh, there's more. Sorry, there's a little bit more. Needless to say, he'd CC'd it to the doctor, the rest of the office, and possibly his entire address book. I was just making a detailed plan to slink home, drink heavily, and pass out under a pile of at least 3 duvets when Alex popped his head around the door. Ready to go, old chap? Bit tricky to get a reservation at this notice, but, you know, a fellow's always willing to call in a marketer for his fellow who needs it. Oh yes, that. Fuck. So I was like, oh my god, I want to read the next chapter. This is right, because I was like, are we going to get to like the country club and see how it works? Because we've both got this email, and he didn't say he's pulling out, he's putting it on hold. So that means we have a chance to like show, I'd be like, reply, I'd be like, ooh, check the Really Posh People magazine. I'm captured on page 5 with me and my really nice boyfriend. You know, I'm new, I'm different. And yes, it's like I don't think he should change for this, or he should just quit his job. But, and like people, he can't get another job because if people Google him, they want to hire him. But I think he could lie and be like, look, I'm doing so much better. Like, I've got this boyfriend and he's, you know, all lawyery, and we should get the donations and everything will start going well, and then we'll fall in love, and then maybe, like, I don't know, get married. I can't wait to see how it goes, and I'm just like jumping on this train because these chapters set up Luke and Oliver so well. It was so much fun, like, seeing them, especially since most of these chapters were just set in Oliver's apartment, and just having them together, being like close and intimate in a like platonic way, very much, but diving deep into two people who are very like shut off and don't want people to like, they don't want to let people in. So I've just, it was so much fun, and I enjoyed it, and I want to see more how their relationship goes and develops, and all these small little bits are so cute. I'm loving it. I'm having such a good time. Let me know what your favorite bit of these chapters were, because I'd love to know, like, you know, I love to see what everyone else is loving about these chapters. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed and are having a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in the next one.